Let's take a look then, if we can, at some of the other races. We've also got the JLT Novices Chase to kick off proceedings on day 3, and we've got the Ryanair as well, which is the intermediate chase. Trainers will be very much shuffling their packs to see whether they step their horses up to the Gold Cup distance or maybe step back to this intermediate distance over 2 mile 5 furlongs. And of course we've got plenty of handicaps to get stuck into as well. Bill, have you got one for us on day 3?
Yeah, JLT, first race on the Thursday. I really like a horse here called Felix Younger, trained by Willie Mullins. This is a horse who doesn't like the soft ground. Has been a bit disappointing this season, but on the soft ground. They've always said this horse is desperate for good ground, run well at a festival before, probably will have, if the weather forecasters are to believe, the good ground on Thursday. This was a horse that kind of usurped Champagne Fever for a few weeks as their Arkle horse, so you know it's held in high regard. If it stays 2 mile 5, I think the home contingent have a lot to do to beat.
If it stays on its feet, I think could be more of a worry. He's a good horse, but his jumping has not been great, though, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I'm prepared to go on the trust that that's the soft ground that's causing his unhappiness and his problems. I think they're pretty sweet on this one.
Mick, I'm hoping you're with me on this. Oscar Whiskey?
Yeah, I think he's a very good horse. He worked very well this morning, and I know that the boss is very, very happy with him. And, you know, he's never had his ideal conditions, and it looks like he may well have his chance this time. His schooling, his jumping has got better as the season's gone on, and I think, you know, he would be a decent one. I think the Ryanair chase last year, the winner of that race was a horse called Beneficent. He runs here. He will love the fact that the ground is drying, and I think for me, Beneficent is one I'd love to be riding in that Ryanair. Tony Martin says he's absolutely flying, and I think, you know, he was 20 to 1 when he won the Juice, and he won't be 20 to 1 this year.
Yeah, he's a horse I've tipped up as my 4 to follow, so that's the old ball and chain around his leg. But he was 20 to 1 last year. He's been winning Grade 1s over in Ireland. He won the Dialer Bet last time at 9 to 1. He's so underestimated for a horse that's won a Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, the problem is he runs the odd stinker in between, and he just doesn't really like soft ground. The fact that he's been winning those races, I think, tells you what a good horse he is. And I think when he gets his ideal conditions at Cheltenham, I think he'll show everybody how good he is. I should give a mention as well. Like I said, I spoke to Richard Johnson. He said his best chance of a winner at the whole festival is a horse called Fingal Bay in the Pertemps. And he thinks this horse should be running in the World Hurdle. He's that good. He's a stone below what they think he's capable of off his handicap mark. And when you think Richard Johnson's got a lot of good chances, and he thinks this is his best chance of a winner in a handicap, carrying more or less top weight, you know, he thinks this is a very good horse, and he thinks, you know, he's an each-way steal. I think he's 16 to 1 because he's carrying top weight. I think he could do a lot worse.
I think he's shortened up 8 to 1. Richard Johnson's been telling too many people. Fingal Bay for the Pertemps then. Tom, have you got one elsewhere on the card?
Yeah, make or break territory for me on the Thursday. In the Ryanair, there's a horse who, God willing, he's going to run in this and not in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. A horse who's been second in 2 Lexus Chases, a graded winner in Aintree. He's a big race winner waiting to happen, trained by Mouse Morris, owned by the same people who happen to own a small airline that might be transporting a few Irishmen to the festival over the 4 days. That is First Lieutenant, who certainly has all the class, scope and ability to be hoovering up one of these. And elsewhere on the card, in the Burn Group Plate, a horse who's contesting favouritism for Lucinda Russell, who's been, how can I say, probably aimed specifically towards one day, and we might see his form peak on the big day on Thursday. That's Tap Knight, owned by JP McManus, trained by Lucinda Russell up in Scotland. He could well run his best race for some time, because this very much has been the target, and he's a beautiful price in what otherwise looks like an open handicap on paper. So Tap Knight in the Burn Group.
Yeah, Tap Knight around 9 to 1 in the Burn Group. I agree with that. Lucinda Russell knows how to peak them for the big day, and he's been hacking around out the back, shall we say, in his chases on soft ground this season. Some of the others then, just a quick mention of, we've all given a strong word for Beneficent in the Ryanair. We should mention some of the 2 principals in the market. We've got Alpha of and also Dinast. Now, Dinast is a horse who was one of the big touted horses last year for David Pipe. He was a brilliant novice. They chose to go for the Jewson last year rather than the RSA. There was a big decision to be made. It backfired. He was beaten at the festival. We haven't seen him since the King George. He pulled muscles last time out in that race. Mick, for you, he's a difficult horse to weigh up. If he turns up at his very best, he's going to be hard to beat. But is he still the same horse?
Well, that's the obvious worry. And, you know, the problem is with the horse, last year when they ran him in the juice and against, he got beat by Beneficent, they rode him all wrong. They took it up way too far out. And the horse has no chance of getting home. He's a short runner. Tom Skew's got to ride him. He's riding a lot better now, Tom, this year. I think he's got more faith in his own ability, and I think that will be borne out. I think he could have a reasonably good festival, Tom Skew, and it's all about that. The guys who... It's no surprise that somebody like Ruby Walsh has been leading rider there umpteen times. Ruby Walsh, you know, has an awful lot of faith in his own ability, and he rides the horses accordingly. When you get to Cheltenham, you've all seen it, you all watch sport. The guys who perform on the big day are the guys who've got unbelievable belief in themselves. That's the way you've got to go out to ride when you go there. And Tom has just lacked that a little bit the last few years. This year he's got it. And I think if he rides Dynast the way he thinks the horse should be ridden, I have absolutely no doubt that the horse will be there thereabouts.